Hi folks, I'm Hector Garcia, CPA and Advanced QuickBooks Pro Advisor, and today we're going to talk about the new chart of accounts experience most people should start seeing in their QuickBooks Online as of summer of 2022. We're going to create a brand new account so we can start from scratch and see what the entire process looks like. I'm going to show you how the new accounting experience changes the way you interact with QuickBooks and the chart of accounts. I'm going to talk about the old chart of account experience a little bit through the video. I'm going to show you in what instances you get to see that. I'm going to talk about business view versus accountant view because it's really different. And then we're going to talk about importing a chart of accounts. If you already happen to have your own perfect chart of accounts in a spreadsheet, which I do. I have a perfect chart of accounts in a spreadsheet I use for my clients. We're going to talk about importing those and how the import and fixing and editing and merging and adjusting chart of account process works with the entire new chart of accounts experience. I'm going to go ahead and create an account from scratch because most of the newer accounts are going to be seeing this experience. Some of the older accounts have not been ported through to this new experience yet. It might take still a couple months. We're in the middle of 2022 now. It might still take a couple months until all the accounts have this new experience, assuming this is the experience that stays permanent in QuickBooks Online. So I'm going to create a new account here. I'll create a plus account, but shouldn't matter which account you create. So let me create a new account. We're going to start from scratch so we can see that experience right away. Okay, I'll continue here the trial without any payroll, and we'll go ahead and get started. Perfect, my account is set up. Now, one really important thing is when I click on the gear menu, you're going to notice that it says switch to accountant view. Currently, we are on business view, which is the default view of any QuickBooks Online account. If you are an accountant and you're logged in as an accountant, it might already be in accountant view. If you're not an accountant, but you want to see what accountant view looks like, you can simply just click on that accountant view button, and then it will switch. And certain components of the experience will change, specifically the left navigation bar. So I'm going to go back and switch to business view once again, because we're going to be focused on the business view portion of the new chart of accounts experience. So to access the chart of accounts, you can do it in a couple of ways. Once you can click on the gear menu and then click on chart of accounts, probably the best way to do it. The other one is to click on bookkeeping, and then inside bookkeeping, there should be a sub menu that shows up to the side, and under manage, it would say chart of accounts. So either way, I'll get you into the chart of accounts. Then I'm going to click on see your chart of accounts, and this will look pretty much the same as if it's looked before. This particular screen hasn't actually changed. What has changed is what the new account screen looks like. So when I go on the top and click on new, right there on the top right, not import, but just new, you're going to get to see a sidebar opens through the side asking you to create a new category. In QuickBooks, they changed the terminology from account to category in order to make it easier for end users to understand. Most people don't understand the word account, especially when it's something other than your bank account. Okay, so let's say I want to create, let's say, an income account called product sales. So I'm going to type here called product sales. And I'm going to click on select category. I'm going to select income and then click on next. And one of the interesting things about this is it automatically forces me to put it into one of the current income accounts. So these accounts you see here, billable expense income, discounts given, sales of product income and services, all these accounts already exist in my chart of accounts, and I can't avoid putting it as a sub account. So that's one really big change here, is that sort of forces you into that. When we create the expense accounts, we'll look at that, how that looks like too. But for some reason, when you're doing an income account, it forces you to put it under a parent account. Okay, so I'm going to click on select, and then on the description, I can put here sales of physical products that we sell. Okay, you don't have to put a description, which is nice, but you can do it if you want. So there it is. Then I'm going to scroll down over here, and you're going to notice that product sales is now a sub account or a subcategory of regular sales. Now, if I were to select that, click on the drop-down menu and click on edit, I cannot move it into a non-category. Like I can't, what am I trying to say? I can't move it out of a parent account. I can't move this out to the parent account under the current chart of accounts experience, which is a horrible thing, by the way. And that's a whole other story, but that's the challenge that we have right now under this chart of accounts experience. Let's do the same thing with an expense. Let's go to new, and then let's say we're going to create an expense called education expenses for employees. If I try to click on save, I can't. I have to select a category. Or click category, click on expenses, click on next, and then it's forcing me to put it under a current category. One of the things that's drives me kind of crazy is you got to put it under a current category. That could be a good thing to try to avoid creating so many parent categories. I like that in a way. Like I sort of like limiting the type of parent accounts and then user can create. But what if I want to create a parent category? I can't. I have to select one of these. So as a user, I could be very confused if I can't find a category that matches this. For now, I'm going to put it under employee benefits here. I guess that's the one that makes the most sense for education for employees. Or maybe it could be other too. Where's other? There's office expenses. There's no other business expenses category. So yeah, it would either be office expenses or general expenses. That could be one too. So I mean, again, once you create them, you're gonna have to pick one. You can also pick on categorize, which I really dislike, that you can put something under categorize. They should remove that. I mean, if they're gonna force the user to have to pick something, that should not be a choice. Just my opinion. There's other expenses and cost of goods sold. If you want to put it into one of those categories again, which are a type of expense. So we said we're gonna put this in employee benefits. Then we click on select, and then select a place to save the new category. Well, that's in there. Maybe that's just an error. Let me click save. Okay, that's fine. So that was just a false flag. So let me go down here to expenses, and there it is, education expenses for employees. That's all set in there. So one of the other things that people are confused about is before you used to be able to choose asset, current asset, fixed asset, that sort of thing. So let's say I'm going to create an equipment. So I'm going to go to new, and then I'm going to put here Bobcat. I'm going to call it 2022 Bobcat. Let's say we have some sort of equipment. And then under category, I'm going to put this under expensive assets. Again, kind of confusing. If I click other accounts gives me some options here, but it doesn't give me the fixed assets, or at least something that says the word fixed asset. So you kind of have to, you got to work through like understanding where these categories are. So I have to click expensive items, which actually means fixed asset. Then I'm going to click on next. And then in here, I have to pick a category under fixed asset, which is probably going to be tools, machinery, and equipment. And I'm going to click on select, and then I'll click on save. And again, if I scroll down down here to my fixed assets, up here, there it is, 2022 Bobcat, under fixed assets. So I like the fact that they're making the experience a little bit easier to non-accountants, but you already have a chart of accounts in front of you that's using terms like fixed assets. So using one term on the account creation experience and a different term on the specific chart of accounts you're looking at could create some confusion. Let me show you something else. Let's say, for example, I'm going to go to new, and then I'm going to put Bobcat Max 2022 or something like that. I'm going to call it Bobcat, let's call it X Max 2022. And then I'm going to select category. Basically, I'm creating another asset that's very similar. I'm going to put it under tools and equipment, click on select, then save. Now I got two assets in there. Okay, I have two assets. Now, let's say I did that by mistake and I want to merge the two assets. Generally, to merge the two assets, you click on it, click on edit, and then you name it the same. So we're going to do Bob Cat X Max 2022, click on save, and instead of letting me merge it, it says you can't do it. So that's it, you're done. You cannot merge accounts under the new chart of accounts experience. So the new chart of account experience took away the ability for you to create parent accounts, took away the ability for you to edit the account and take it out of a parent account, took away the ability to merge the accounts. So far, I don't like that as an accountant. I do kind of like it for end users, but again, end users are going to be kind of frustrated about this. Now I'm going to turn on account numbers so we can kind of see what that looks like, because account numbers are not turned on, and that does bring a different dynamic into this whole thing. Let me go to advanced and let's look for account numbers. I'm going to go ahead and enable the account numbers and show them, and then click on save and then close that. And then we go back to our chart of accounts. Let's wait until that reloads here. Okay. They don't, there's no numbers on the new chart of accounts experience. So you have to create the numbers on your own. So let's say, for example, I wanted to give this Bobcat an account number. I'm going to edit that. I can put it here. So let's say that's a 19015, whatever it is, and click on save. So I can, that's the good part, I can give them account numbers. The problem is if the parent account doesn't have a number and it's not too obvious what the number is, you might not give that the right number. So let's just look at that. I'm going to go to edit, and then I'm going to do 19000 for the parent account. And then when I go edit my Bobcat, I'm going to click on edit. The account number for the parent account is not showing in the new chart of accounts experience. If you actually go through this and see it, you actually have to go through this extra menu to then see the 19,000 in there. So in other words, under the first screen, when you go edit under this move category under, the account number doesn't show. So it makes it even harder for us to contextually know how to number these things, unless I'm literally clicking here and then clicking here, clicking next, and then seeing the account number here. Again, not a positive experience. Non-accountants might like this because it's less technical questions, but again, they're looking at it back when you look at the chart of accounts. All that stuff is showing, so that becomes a little bit confusing. The other thing that's missing from here is when you create a new account. Let's say I'm going to create a bank account. So let's do Chase 1001. Click on select, and then I'm going to select bank account and click on select. When I'm creating the bank account here on the spot, in order to do the beginning balances, I'm going to select the date here. Let's say at the end of the year of last year. I'm going to put that here, and then the balance of the account. So let's say 50,000 here. So that's still working, which is nice. It's good that that's still working. The new setup for the accounts. But one thing that's very interesting here is when you create bank accounts, it shows you as if it's going to go under bank and credit cards, but it's not going into a specific sub account. Now that's fine because most bank accounts don't go under sub accounts, but it's inconsistent. Where one account goes straight into a parent account, and then there's no other accounts going as sub accounts. At the same time, I can't create a sub account. So let's say I'm going to click on save, and then I want to create a parent account called Chase accounts. Let's say Chase accounts, and I want to have multiple bank accounts under Chase accounts, let's say. So we're going to do that. I'm not going to do beginning balances. On here, click save. So there's Chase accounts, and then I'm going to create a different Chase account here. Let's do Chase savings and put that under bank account and click on select. Notice that there's no mechanism for me to put it under that Chase accounts category. So again, a little bit inconsistent. I'm going to do the same thing here and put some sort of beginning balance. It's a little bit inconsistent that for some accounts you get to do sub accounts and not for others. And if I wanted to go back and edit it and put it under, let's say that savings, I want to go back and edit it and put it under that specific sub account, I can't. It's not physically possible under the new experience for me to create bank accounts as sub accounts. So I'm just pointing out all the things that are potentially wrong with this, and they create a negative experience. Now I'm going to switch over to accountant view, because with accountant view, you do get that traditional view, and I'm going to kind of explain what is the problem with excluding this from the regular view. I want to put, let's say, these two accounts under Chase accounts. For me to do that, I have to edit each one, and then in here, I can make it a sub account or some. Should be able to do it somewhere, or right here. So I'm gonna put this under Chase account. So you see, you have to be on the accountant view to be able to do this under the new chart of accounts experience. Again, it's kind of good, kind of bad. Again, I'm just being honest about what can cause some confusion. I do like this, the preview. I do like the preview because it starts kind of showing you how this stuff gets constructed. I do like that. Let me do save, and let's pick this other Chase savings, edit it, and just for the sake of consistency, let's give this one an account number, and then we'll put this one under Chase accounts, and again, you get to see the preview here, and then we click on save. So that's interesting. That's cool that you can see the accounts sort of live here. Now, one thing that's a little bit confusing here, this is my mistake under the Chase savings. I shouldn't have put that here. I should have put that in here because that's the bank account itself, not the account number. Just to be consistent, I will do some account numbers on this. So this one called Chase accounts will probably be 10100, and then we will name these to be consistent 10101, and then the second one will be 10102, because when you're doing account numbers, you kind of want to follow that kind of logic. But that's kind of what I'm trying to show you here, that the new chart of account experience, it's a little bit confusing for some people, and you might want to work in accountant view to be able to get anything done with it because of what I showed you earlier. Now on the merging part, I can merge these two now under the accountant view. So let's say, for example, I'm going to copy this name, and then these were duplicates. That was the premise. These were duplicates. I'm going to change that to the same name. Now it's telling you, it's giving you this little red thing, letting you know that there's a conflict. That's actually a good thing. That's letting you know that you should probably be doing a merge. When I click on save, this now asks me if I want to merge them. So it's pretty cool. That's not a pop-up. It's sort of in window. The jury's still out on whether a in window is better than a pop-up. I kind of like the pop-up. I mean, I'm used to the pop-up because it's sort of highlights, letting you know, hey, would you like to merge these? One thing that's interesting here is this is not letting you know that the merging cannot be undone. That is a permanent thing. So that's the one thing I don't like about this. I click on yes, merge account, and it gets done, and I didn't get a warning. There's no undo. There's no way to undo this. And then once you do, a merge is a permanent thing. So let me hit refresh and go down. Okay, that worked. Now you know how to do the merging. Let me create a new account from scratch using the new chart of accounts experience. So it's still the new experience, but it's accountant view. So if I want to create a bank account, I go to banks. I can go to save account under. I actually don't have to select a parent account like in the other way. I would just select bank account, which is the category. It's not really a specific account. So that's okay. Then tax form section. This part I don't like because this used to be what they used to call traditionally detail view. Now they're calling it tax form. But this is confusing because this has nothing to do with tax form, you know. Again, there's no place in any tax form that says money market, checking, rents held in trust. So I get it that they're trying to make it easier to read, but this doesn't make any sense. Just realistically, it doesn't make any sense. So that's when you create bank accounts. Let's do expenses, which are a little bit more related to tax form issues. So let's go here, and we'll select expenses, general category. The other part about this is, for most people, when they select an account, or at least traditionally, and they're going to select expenses, they want to pick between three major categories: expenses, cost of goods sold, and other expenses. It's not terribly obvious that you need to pick one of these major ones to create a parent account. And having this big list here kind of makes the customer the user feel that they have to pick something, and they're more likely to just pick the wrong thing. So I think I would prefer to have for the three categories, cost of goods sold, expenses, and other expense as its own sort of drop down, and then the other ones as a different one. Again, for end users, as an accountant, I know what I'm doing, so I kind of like just having one. That way I could just search for things. If I want to search utilities or something like that, I could quickly search it and find it, okay? So I'm torn between whether I like it or not. As an advanced user, I'm okay with it. As an end user, I'm not terribly keen that this is going to be a useful thing. So let's pick here, and again, uncategorized. I mean, I like as an advanced user, I like being able to create my own uncategorized, but I'm not sure if end users should be creating accounts on their own categorized. So I'm going to pick the parent category, expenses. I'm going to pick one of these tax form sections. Again, a little bit confusing. Either way, this is just going to drive more confusion. I wish this thing would just go away. All the business expenses, and let's do a category here. We're going to do, let's say, conferences and events or something like that. Okay, that should probably go under advertising or something like that. But I'm going to put it under tax form, other business expenses, which doesn't mean subcategory. It means whatever they call tax forms. Subcategory is driven through the top drop down there. So again, it's just something you have to kind of detect. Once you see this here, like not super indented like the way these are, then you know it's a parent category. I wish there was some clever way to point out that this is a parent category thing. The other thing I kind of dislike about this preview is that the P&L says balance as of, and there's never balances on P&Ls. So that's a whole accounting issue. That should not even exist. But okay, it's there. All right, so I'm going to click on save. And I thought I did this. But let me go back and put other business expenses. Click on save. Okay, and that did that. And let's look for that category, the conferences one. There it is. And if I want to make that a sub account, I edit that. And then from here, I can put it under advertising and marketing or wherever I want to. And then I can put my account number. Now, let's just talk about that. I'm going to go back for a second. Let's give advertising and marketing an account number. So I'm going to give this one an account number. Let's say this is 610,100. Okay, let's say that's my category. That's my account number for advertising and marketing. I'm going to click on save. And then I want to give that the conferences one, conferences and events. Let me edit that. And I want to give that a number. But before I give it a number, I want to see what my parent category is. In this screen, you do see the number, which is nice. But I wanted to kind of show you in contrast that in the business view, in that initial screen to editing, you were not seeing the account number. So again, I know account numbers are essentially a advanced function, a more advanced function. Average users don't even know what this is supposed to mean or whatever. But again, there's inconsistency on this. Changing the account type, yeah, that's fine. We'll click on save, and that will do that. Okay, so that's it for the chart of accounts experience. One of the things about this tax line mapping or tax form that makes it a little bit confusing is the following. When I go on reports and I go to, let's say, account list, and I run my account list, this concept of detail type is still showing here. This is a legacy QuickBooks Online concept. But the other terminology was tax form, right? So again, inconsistency on how the form, when you're creating the account, it's labeling it as like tax form or belonging to tax line mapping. But then on the reports, it says detail type. Confusing. I'm gonna go back, and again, we are in business. We are in accountant view. So in accountant view, we should not be making it easy terminology wise for the user. We should be consistent throughout. Okay. The other part is I'm going to click here on chart of accounts, and there's something I wanted to show you. Okay, that the detail type here too. So it's also showing detail type here. Now, There is no report for tax, like income tax or tax line mapping, unfortunately. So it also leaves a little bit confusing as to what the end purpose to the user is to create these tax categories, because there's no tax report, income tax report. There's a P&L, but once I show the P&L, which I'm not going to show anything now because there's no data there. But when the P&L shows up with some data, that's the closest thing to the tax form you have. So there's really no satisfaction at the end for the user of having to go this extra step to do the detail types or the tax form because you can't really pull a report that shows that. Now, granted, accountants logged in as accountants with QuickBooks Online for accountants have this thing called tax prep where they can pull tax mapped reports. But for the end user, it just feels like really, well, what was the point in the first place? So again, I'm liking the new chart of accounts experience. I'm liking the path in which they're going. I'm liking that they're trying, I'm going to switch back to business view. They're trying to simplify this for the end user, because I deal with a lot of end users, and end users get mostly confused about chart of accounts. But maybe that's by design. Chart of accounts is an accounting concept for accountants. So Intuit is trying to figure out how to, I don't want to say bypass the accountant, because it's not obvious that Intuit is trying to bypass the accountant, but they're trying to make the experience for an end user that is not paying an accountant to walk them through all these things. They're trying to make it seamless, easy for them. Not because they want to bypass the accountant, just because the software should be intuitive enough that it shouldn't require a consultant for you to use it correctly. The reality is that you will need a consultant. You do need an accountant to help you do this right. But hopefully this video gives you a good idea on what's happening with the new chart of accounts experience and the options that you have. And again, your file might have this, your file might not. It might be a couple of months until all of them have it. This video was recorded in the middle of 2022, summer of 2022. So hopefully at some point in the future, everybody has this new chart of accounts experience, and it's no longer new, it's the chart of accounts experience. I'm also hoping to make some improvements to this, but hopefully this video is useful for you as is. But I'll add something. For my clients, when people call my office and say, can you help us set up our chart of accounts? We have our own chart of accounts that we set up for our own clients. I have this chart of accounts I designed about 5 or 6 years ago for QuickBooks Desktop, and I ported it over to QuickBooks Online, and I try to get almost all my clients in the chart of accounts if possible, because I think it's just better than the default chart of accounts that QuickBooks Online gives you. I can't change the experience, but I can change the specific list of chart of accounts to match more of my management style. Now, by default, QuickBooks will give you a chart of accounts that's mapped to the tax form, because essentially people use QuickBooks for the most part to get prepared for their taxes. Understood. But as a power user of QuickBooks, as a trainer, as someone that teaches small business owners to manage their business through their reports, not manage their tax return to the reports, we create more personalized chart of accounts experiences, but we import our own chart of accounts, which I quickly want to show you how that would work if you were in this situation. So I'm going to start with the accounts that I created that had beginning balances. I'm going to go into view register. I'm going to delete those opening balance transactions, because you cannot delete accounts that have balances in them. So again, I'm putting this back to where it was when we first created the company from scratch, and there was no transactions, no beginning balances. And just imagine we're back at the beginning where we just set up a QuickBooks file. Now there's a little checkbox up here that allows you to select all the accounts. And this is amazing. I love this. And this was added recently with this new chart of accounts experience. Batch actions, make inactive, and you click on OK, yes, make inactive. And in one fell swoop, almost all the accounts are going to be made inactive immediately. So almost all the accounts with that click will be made immediately. There's a subset of accounts that QuickBooks cannot delete because they're system default accounts. Those are undeposited funds, which with the new chart of accounts experience is now called payments to deposit, which is fine. But undeposited funds was the old name that this gave it. Uncategorized asset, the worst account in the history of QuickBooks, which really shouldn't exist at all, but it's there and you can't take it out, unfortunately. So generally what I do, because I can't make it inactive, again, doesn't let me do it. So I basically come in here, click on edit and put do not use. I know I hate it, but it's a do not use, because if you ever find yourself trying to put something in that account has absolutely zero value to the entire accounting workflow. Uncategorized assets shouldn't exist. Intuit, listen to me, gotta get rid of it. There's no value in this, okay? But I'm gonna put do not use for now. This one you can change back to undeposited funds if you want to. So you don't have to, but you can. Again, you can't get rid of this account. This is a system default account, but I can change the name to undeposited funds. Opening balance equity, I can't get rid of. It's always gonna be there. Retained earnings, that's fine. You can use that account. Billable expense income, you can't get rid of it because it's tied to billable transactions. That has to be there. And services, I think that the reason why this one is there is because it's tied to a product or service. So what I'm going to do in this particular case, I'm going to click on edit and I'm going to call this other services for now. Just put that in there, other services. I'm going to click on save and just leave that there because I'm going to put that as a sub account of my own chart of accounts once I push it in. Uncategorized income, uncategorized expense, can't get rid of them. This is the core set of accounts, including uncategorized asset, which I renamed, that are going to be there. Next step to import, we're going to go here in the drop-down menu, click on import, and then we're going to select the Excel file, the CSV file that has the file to import. I'm going to go find it in my computer, and then I'm going to import it. Okay, so I found the folder where I have my chart of accounts. I'm going to go to QBO here, and I have multiple Excel files with these chart of accounts. I'm just going to quick look here just to kind of show you what this looks like. I'm going to open this in Excel so we can see it in Excel. Let's open it in Excel first prior to doing that. Okay, so I'm going to open this in Excel just so we can see what it looks like prior to importing it. I'm going to bring it here from the other side of my screen. I'm going to go to view and let's just do 200%. So I already have and again, if you're working with your own accountant, with your own consultant, every good accountant and consultant should have their own go-to chart of accounts that they set up for their clients. In many cases, setting up a chart of accounts, it's a very personal experience, and bringing a default chart of accounts into it might not necessarily be the best kind of way to do it, but it's really up to the consultant to do that. So I have my own chart of accounts here set up, and this is in Excel, and that's what I'm going to import. So I'm going to pick it here. I'll pick it, I'll open it, and then click on next. Okay, and then everything is pre-mapped because this spreadsheet that I have is already ready to import. Click on next. Then it gives you a list of all the accounts that are going to be imported with the proper account numbers, with the proper detail types or tax category, whatever. It's all set up in here. Click on import. And if there's any duplicates, you will get the duplicate error. So we go into import mode. It takes usually about a minute. There's already some accounts already in there. And for those, basically this will be duplicates. And so those in particular don't come in, but everything else comes in. And then we go to import, or at least we're done with all the imports. Skip those. We hit X and yes. And then we go back into the new chart of accounts that I imported. So every single account that was already in my spreadsheet, it's already there. There's some couple of nuances here, which is, and if you see any of these missing numbers, you can simply just go back and edit them and change the number. And it wouldn't be too many of them. These are just the ones that just had a little bit of a conflict with those beginning accounts, or the ones that were already there that we couldn't get rid of. So for example, these other services, billable expenses, and uncategorized income, these are the three that we couldn't get rid of, but I can put these three, move them back into net sales. So I'm going to come in here and edit them. Okay, which mode am I in? Okay, I got to switch back to accountant view. So we imported them in business view, which is okay. But in order to make these edits, again, as a point of this video, we're gonna go back into accountant view. Undeposited funds, this one, unfortunately, that one's not included in my ultimate chart of accounts spreadsheet. So you gotta manually give this an account number. So I'm gonna call it 14,000. I'm not sure exactly which is the proper number. We'll do that. This one for do not use, we'll do the same thing. We'll put this in, let's say 14,999. Again, we're never gonna use that, but unfortunately, we can't get rid of it. Let's go down here, opening balance equity. Okay, so that's always gonna be 30,000. Again, we can't get rid of it, which we could. And then, yeah, this one. I don't know why this one didn't come in. Probably because it was already there. So this is going to be an equity account. So this should be a 3. So let's do it 39000. Now, the tricky thing about this one, the owner's personal expenses, is that I have multiple versions of this chart of accounts. And some of them I put them as other expenses, which is why they have 8s in them or 6s. 6, 7, and 8 are for expenses. But I basically, it's just indicating that some people will use these as expenses, other expenses instead of equity. But personal expenses are technically always equity. So this particular chart of accounts has that issue, that circumstance in itself. Then retained earnings. Usually I do, I think it's 33,000 for this. Okay, that fixes that. Account number. Okay, so these three, we're going to make these 3 sub-accounts. So let's do that. Let's do edit. And let's make this a sub-account right here under net sales. We should give these a number. So let's do 48,901. Click on save. Yes, that's fine. And then we got the next one, other services. This is the one that we couldn't change because it was tied to an item. And we can go back and talk about that as well. And let's do 48902. Again, I'm following a pattern. So as long as it's a 4 of some sort, we're going to be okay. And then yes. And then we're going to have one more. We should have here one more uncategorized income, edit, and 48903. Right? Follow the same pattern. Save. Whoops, I forgot to make that a sub account. Let's do a search. 48. Okay. Forgot to make that a sub account. Net sales. Save. Perfect. Okay, that's beautiful. So I can get rid of this, search, and then we got account numbers on those. Again, this is kind of the extended portion of the video where we talk about editing the chart of accounts after you've imported some using the new chart of accounts experience. So these are going to be, I would do maybe office expenses. Let's do 61,000. Yeah, that's probably what makes the most sense. 61,000. Or this is something we're using. So let's do 61,100. Save. Okay, that could work. Although, you know what? Let me check my spreadsheet, original spreadsheet, to see what was the account number I had used for office expenses. Let's be consistent, even though we're making a video here. What did I use for office expenses? Let me resort data. Sort this by name. Okay, and office expenses, I had used 65,000. Okay, so let's be consistent. So, because generally you do want to be consistent. So, 61,100. Yeah, so that's gonna be 65,000. Change that. 65,000. Beautiful. And what else I got with account numbers? Travel expense. Bring the magical spreadsheet again. Again, if you have a spreadsheet like this, it doesn't matter. I'm just trying to be consistent with what I do for all my clients. So 68,400 will do for that. So we'll come in here, edit, 68,400, save. And on categorized expense, that's the tricky one. Let me go down here because QuickBooks will find its way to doing things with uncategorized expense. So in either way, I'm going to edit this. I'm going to put it as a subcategory of my other business expenses. Do I have that? or my office expenses. Yeah, I'm going to put it as a subcategory of expenses, although really not the right place to put it. And then we'll put 65,999 or something like that. And then click on save. Again, I don't want any parent accounts to be there that are beyond the accounts that are imported from my chart of accounts. Let's go down here, utilities. Let's bring the spreadsheet again. 68,600. And click on edit. 68,600. Click on save. Okay, I think we're good to go. Let me sort this by account number. Nothing's missing an account number. Okay, that's perfect. That's exactly how you want a chart of accounts to be if you're going to use account numbers. If you don't like to see the numbers inside of the name of the account, which I don't, I like to see them separate like that. We'll click on the gear menu, click on account and settings. We go down to advanced, and then it's advanced, and then we enable the account numbers, but we don't show them, and click on save. And the reason for that is because I want the account numbers in my chart of accounts so I can organize it, so I can do it, but I don't want it to be part of the name. Hope that makes sense. So, and the reason why chart account numbers matter is because if you want to change the order of any of these things, you need to have account numbers. So, for example, if I'm looking at cost of goods sold and I'm looking at freight, merchant, product, purchase. If I want purchases to be on top of freight or freight to be in the bottom, only way to do that, because there's no manual resorting of accounts, is by changing the account number in itself. So when you go do some sort of categorization, let's say I want to create an expense, and then I select the vendor. I come down here to category again. Category, tax category. I hate that concept. It should say account because it is an account, especially when I am, again, I'm going to reiterate that I am already in accountant's view. So I don't need that washed down version. I want to see their account. It's not a category, it's an account. I would get why that would be in the business view, but in here it should say account. Anyway, I click my drop down menu. I have all my accounts to choose from. Account numbers won't show up in here. So if you want to do things by account number, it won't work. Okay, so working backwards in here, actually, where's that? The account number, 68,500. Is that correct? Let me just check here, just in case. Oh, okay, so that was an account number. So, okay, so I'll go back and stand corrected. If you type the account number, it shows up, but it doesn't visually show it to you. So that's pretty cool. So if I know the account number and I'm sort of used to typing the account number, but I don't want to see it, that's a pretty interesting alternative. So that actually I hadn't noticed that. So I can also type work, and then for working meals, type that, and then go on. So that's a really important piece. The other important piece is what happens when you create a new account. Let's say I want to create one called education or something like that, and I somehow skip the accounts already exist, and I go to add new or hit tab. I get the old account menu. So I actually love this. I love the old account menu. Trust me, this is what I like because I'm used to this. But again, this one uses the terminology detail type. It doesn't use the terminology tax mapping or whatever. So again, that's another issue where there's consistency. Maybe they'll fix and use the side drawer that shows up the old way. For once, I like being able to see the old screen because, it's just faster to work in old screens because your brain is programmed a certain way. So that's important to point out as well. The other thing I want to just test here, because I haven't done it yet, I'm going to switch back to business view and see if I get the same screen when I try to create a new account in line of a new transaction. So let's go here to expense, and then we go to our category, and then let's do the same thing. I type education, and I hit tab. Okay, that doesn't work. So I kind of hate that doesn't work. I actually have to click on C and add more categories in order to get that. And under business view, I do get the new chart of accounts experience. So that's pretty interesting. But when I click on expenses, again, same issue where I can't create parent categories. I can only create something under a current category. Again, I have the things I like about that, things I don't like about that, but important to point out another piece of sort of semi-consistency and consistency in the new chart of accounts experience. Okay, this video is long enough. I shouldn't have gone that long, honestly. The one thing I am going to get questions on, because people watch my videos, it's how do I get your chart of accounts? This is my IP, right? So I created this chart of accounts from years and years of experience, and I only give this chart of accounts to my clients. So when people hire me or my company to help them set up a chart of accounts, this is what we use, or this is our starting point, because it's more customized to managing the books, not so much managing the tax return. I do sell it if somebody wants to sell it separately. I'll put a link to that. If you want to download that spreadsheet, you can buy it. But when you work with an accountant, assuming you're a small business owner, your accountant should have their own chart of accounts. If you bring somebody else's chart of accounts, like mine, and you have an accountant that you're working with, you gotta make sure that person likes that chart of accounts, and because they might not like it. This is really attached to my style, attached to my target customer, attached to the type of customer that I work with, and the existing chart of accounts that QuickBooks has might be good enough. Again, so something to think about. Last thing I'll show you, I'll click on the gear menu. If I click on include inactive, I can see all my old accounts that were made inactive. And typically the easiest way to identify them, especially because they were not created with account numbers, is all the ones that don't have account numbers are basically essentially the old accounts. Okay, so and then all the ones that had the account numbers are the accounts I created or that I imported. So you can always see the old accounts. Unfortunately, there's no way to completely delete them. So the inactive is the only state they're going to be. So if you don't want to see inactive, you just check them again and then bring that active. Now you will see sometimes that new accounts get created, like this billable expense income somehow was created again. Don't know why that happens. It's a weird QuickBooks thing. So I can make that make that a sub account. Of course, I gotta go back to accountant view. So one of the things I have to remember about this accountant view, business view. So go back and edit this and make that a sub account of my net sales. And then notice I have two of them. Let's see what happens if I try to merge it. It's an indication here. We talked about merging earlier. Will it do it? Yes? Maybe? Yes? Okay. All right, so that did work. Okay. So somehow randomly new accounts get created that probably belong to accounts already in there, especially when you start moving them into subcategories. You have to be vigilant on that and just make sure you go back and merge them again. This is my preferred sort of format to have a chart of accounts. Anyway, I hope you liked this video, and I'll see you on the next one.